People may not use the phrase Uranus Pluto, but they know you're an astrologer, and they probably are like, "What's going on? Oh my God, everything's spinning out of control." And then, what can people use these to, or make use of them to get on the right nodal path?
Well, it's interesting. Excuse me. The right nodal path, I mean, the nodes are always there, and within the context of evolutionary astrology, we use them to explore a deeper level of information that, as far as I know, is not available through any other astrological approach or system. Now, the Pluto-Uranus squares, of course, are affecting everybody, but they would be affecting everybody with or without the nodes. So with the Pluto-Uranus square, first of all, let me tell you, the way that I work with people is, like you said, a lot of people know their sun, moon, and rising, but beyond that, you get them into your counseling room, and you've probably had this experience too, Matt, and you start to go beyond that, and you lose them. So basically what I'll do with almost anybody, unless they say, speak pure astrology-ese to me, is I will absolutely just stay away from most of the technical stuff. So, for example, with the Pluto-Uranus square, people are feeling the heat and the pressure and the conflict and the power struggles. They're uncomfortable. People are popping out of their skins. There is a rise in suicides, in murders, obviously, if you're in touch with the news at all. Everybody's trigger is ready to be pulled, and everybody's panicking. There's a lot of fear right now, and if you look at our political candidates, and I don't want to judge where anybody stands politically, but
we're talking to a West Sonoma County audience here.
Yeah, okay.
You're on an astrology. I feel the same way. I do the same thing. I use the same kind of language that you just used, and then I remind myself, wait, I'm hosting an astrology show in West Sonoma County. But and I will say, looking at them, I get sick to my stomach. But yes. But anyways, but go on. I'm sorry.
No, it's perfectly fine. It's just a matter of the need for diplomacy in our work.
Yeah, I'm a Libra North Node, so I'm supposed to be learning that.
Oh, you're a Libra moon. You'd fit right in.
No,
here.
I'm an Aries moon.
Oh, you're an Aries
moon, right on the midheaven. But my South Node is at 0 Aries.
Oh,
so
my. Well, let's use you as an example of the Pluto-Uranus square. How's about that?
But no, but we're not supposed to be talking. That's one of the things. We're not supposed to talk about the host, because the host nor is the host supposed to use any personal pronouns, because
Okay. But let's just say that we have someone who, I don't know if your listeners know about the nodes, but the South Node, they've always been around in astrology, and they're the moon's nodes. So they're correlated, or at least the South Node is correlated with the emotions, and the emotions have no logic. The South Node in evolutionary astrology is connected to the past, and it's not just connected to the past of this lifetime, but connected to the past of many, many lifetimes before, and how those past lifetimes, which you have forgotten cognitively, actually have emotional overflow into this lifetime. And how they show up in one's life is that you're born doing something very naturally and very reflexively, which may be really great for certain people. Let's say you have an aptitude for accounting. And here you are playing with numbers when you're 3 years old, and you're able to balance your best friend's checkbook at the age of 15, no problem, and so forth. Then you become a CPA, and you're doing a lot of people a lot of good, and you're bored stiff. Now, let's say that that person's South Node was Capricorn, and Capricorn is very duty-oriented and very committed and very focused and pretty conservative. And here they are, and they haven't really evolved into the very best that they can be, their North Star, their North Node. And let's just say they've achieved their ambitions, they're doing what they're good at, they're benefiting a lot of people, but at the end of every day, it's like, yuck. So, in the context of the Pluto-Uranus square, since we're taking you out of it, Matt.
Oh well, you can describe as though another person. Or so. I was just kind of giving you a hard time because
I know you were, and I'm giving you a hard time back.
I'm a Libra.
But anyway,
Libra
so here's this Capricorn.
We'll use you as an example. We'll use the other. I sometimes try to use the guest as an example, but
the Uranus-Pluto square, while it's hitting me, of course, like it is everybody else, it's not hitting me exactly, at least not yet.
Yeah.
So I want to use the emphasis more because the south node, will pull you backwards. It's a riptide effect. It's habitual. It relates back to a past lifetime, to who you were in that lifetime, to something that you accomplished, but you've already done it, so it doesn't move you forward. So in order to get on the fast track, the evolutionary track, you need to get away from the momentum, this kind of black hole emphasis of the south node, and get on with things and move towards your North Star or your North Node. Now, before I go further, and I don't know how many of your listeners are actually tapped into a lot of astrological language, but I notice you're using a fair amount, so I'm kind of guessing that they're more sophisticated.
I'm not sure. I guess that too, because you do tend to attract an audience that is, we tend to attract audience or readership or listenership that's somewhat reflective of ourselves, and I figure, so I'm not sure. I'd like to think they are because I'm an Aries South Node, and hey, we're ahead of the curve here, but yeah.
So you're Aries South Node and Aries Moon both.
Yeah.
Ah, interesting. Yeah. Okay.
So
anyway, here's this CPA, and let's say it's a woman, and she's done great, and she's accomplished a lot, and she can be relied upon, and so forth and so on. But what she hasn't done is get married and have a family, which is what her North Node, her North Star in Cancer, the nourisher and the protector and the great mother, is calling her to do. This is very black and white, but I think it works.
Right.
And so, if she does her south node and she just keeps on doing what she does and making lots of money and benefiting lots of people professionally, maybe she never meets that guy that she's supposed to meet, that she's supposed to get married to and settle down with. So therefore, she does not evolve, for example, into that kind of archetype and that way of being where she can really be connected with other people and, feel safe and part of something other than the professional world. Now, let's say somebody like that is experiencing the Pluto-Uranus square. And here comes Pluto, and Pluto in Capricorn is saying we are going to, all of the stuff that has been held at bay, all of the stuff that nobody wants to look at, it's starting to come up now. Look out, world. And again, if we look at the stuff that's going on with large corporations now, we'll see that a lot of stuff is being uncovered.
Would you say that the Fukushima thing, because that buried plutonium that got blown sky high?
Absolutely.
And that's kind of like for us as individuals, maybe.
Yeah.
The buried, we're like going through our own Fukushimas or our own.
Excellently. Well, very well put. Yeah, so it's kind of like this nuclear kind of explosion of truth. Because right. Pluto is so much about that. Pluto, says there is, Pluto is the planet that says look into the darkness. There's something there. And some of it is going to be creepy. Some of it you're not going to look at, not going to want to look at. But there is also within that darkness, amongst the grit and the shadowy material, there is the gold. But you have to go through the process of transformation.
So the grit and yuck. Now, where the station here is basically associated with the Occidental OAEC, Occidental Arts and Ecology Center, and it's a permaculture center. Like we're literally right down the street from here, and over there on one corner of their property, they have the compost piles, and the compost is kind of disgusting,
Right.
Is that like the grit? Is that kind of like the compost?
It's the grit and it's the gold, because what is the compost going to do?
Fertilize the
right, exactly. So it's going to fertilize the new growth, but it's also about this broken down, decaying material. So again, that's a really great analogy. Now, Pluto is breaking things down. It's creating power struggles, and you'll see this, of course, out in the world, but it's also happening with each and every individual. Now, I just did a reading for a gentleman this morning, and, he was expressing the fact that he's in the middle of a divorce, and it's a really ugly one, and his about-to-be ex is stalking both he and the woman that he's currently involved with. And there is an element to this of, obsessive-compulsive behavior a lot of the time. It's like, I need to be right. So here are, two people, she's saying you should never have left me and you left me for that woman. And he's saying, no, I left for my own sanity. And, who's right, who's wrong? And that's a big question now. And part of the antidote for that is, does it matter really who's right, or does it matter how happy you are? Because, in terms of power struggles, they don't get us anywhere. So basically what I'm telling my clients and anybody who asks is, how do I deal with this stuff? And the thing is not to get reactive. Rather to stand your ground and to have sea legs. And that's really different. I mean, if you have somebody coming at you with their opinions or with their fists up or with a point to prove or whatever, it's kind of in our nature to defend and protect. Now, if we're not defending and protecting, what the hell are we going to do? Are we going to roll over and be victimized? Well, maybe that's another choice. But ultimately, the most valuable way to deal with the Pluto-Uranus energy right now is to just be able to stand there, to be in your authority, to not react, to just very calmly either state where you are, what your opinion is, or leave the scene, but not to grapple. And if we
for some of us Aries South nodes, that's a tough one, not to grapple, psychologically or intellectually.
Yeah, and that, of course, is very, very understandable, and especially if you have that reflexive South node in Aries, where it's kind of like, yes, I can meet the challenge, but yeah, sometimes maybe the temperature can rise from 0 to 100 degrees.
Yeah, in like 4.5 seconds.
Yeah. So the process is also slowing things down and going forward with integrity, which is the Pluto in Capricorn. Now, the more that you're in your own authority, the more that you have nothing to prove. In other words, you have an opinion. Let's just say you have an opinion, somebody else has a different opinion. That other person wants to debate it, wants to make you wrong. You're saying, that's just your opinion. So the other person, you really can't have an argument when one person refuses to engage. And with the Uranus and Aries piece, the more that you stand your ground, the more that you're in your authority, then Uranus kind of sets you free. Here you are in your dignity, here you are in your authority, here you are standing your ground, but you're not attacking and you're not reacting, and you're just being very, very sane and being very grounded, the best of Capricorn, the highest of Capricorn, Pluto, so wise, so shamanic, so deep, so intense. Pluto laughs at the fact that we worry about our brand of toilet paper. It's like, who cares? But here's this very transformational energy and dignified Capricorn, standing your ground, not reacting, and then that triggers the Uranus in Aries response, if you're doing it right. I'm talking about doing it the right way, which is breakthrough, authenticity, revolution, evolution, and then you have the opportunity to see the walls that you have been facing or what you thought were walls. And this is a quote, I think, from Thoreau. turn into doors. But you have to do the Pluto piece first, and then the Uranus piece gets triggered. And with Uranus, Uranus known as the Great Awakener and the Revolutionary and the Anarchist, but one of my favorite names for Uranus is the Magician. And literally, when you're dealing with Uranus in a very authentic way, because like Pluto, Uranus scoffs at lies and deceit, and it says, we will not be oppressed. So therefore, authenticity is really important here. So, Uranus has this amazing way of speeding things up. Pluto in Capricorn, stand your ground, go slow. Uranus in Aries, move right ahead. Take a quantum leap into what it was that you were desiring and what it is that you are committed to. And then when you do this, and I've seen this happen with a number of my clients, it's like all of a sudden it's like, okay, they've been in this kind of Capricorn, Pluto and Capricorn hell and dealing with their deepest, darkest issues. Therapists' offices everywhere are overflowing.
Yeah, it's like the one growth industry right now.
Yeah, it really is.
Which is, not a... I don't say that with like a sense of joy or anything, because obviously people are in a lot of pain, but the astrologers and other folks in the healing professions that I'm in touch with, they're, and some of this is because they're really good. And so when people are feeling in trouble, they go to people who are really good, but they're just absolutely doing more business than ever before. And I mean, maybe that's one of the positive things about these, these kind of like somewhat terrifying extremes that society is going through, is these people are now motivated to get to heal, whereas before they could kind of just slough along.
Right, yeah, whatever we have been trying to look away from is now in our faces, and, we have another exact square of Uranus and Pluto coming up next month on the 20th. So hang on to your hats. That just means that it peaks on that particular day, that it reaches full charge momentum, and that whatever you have been denying, whether it's the fact that you're trying to lose 10 pounds and you eat that bowl of ice cream at 10 o'clock at night, or, that your marriage is in shambles, or, whatever it may be, that there's something that you have to deal with, around that date, not necessarily on that date, but building up to that date, another exact square. And when two planets square, it's a squaring off effect like boxers in a ring. So it's truth or dare. It's like, what do you commit to? The Pluto in Capricorn, what sets you free? What are your passions? Uranus in Aries, what about me? What roads do I need to trailblaze? Where am I headed? Pioneering, the spirit of pioneering. And here's something also that, of course, we've all noted, is that there is more of a sense, and you were saying this, Matt, before I came on the air, of community. Now, Uranus is a planet that is very often correlated with group events or with community at large. And so as Uranus in Aries gets triggered, there are more and more people opting out of the system, as it were, and saying, let's create something that has never been created before. Let's do something that has never been done before. And it's happening all over the place. If you spend any time whatsoever on the Internet, you're going to see it everywhere. And, there's an awful lot of this high-tech stuff that's going on where the vibe is, everybody, you can go to any number of websites and you can watch a video or you can download something. You can get life coaching tips for free and whatever. So you can actually get an education and be part of something greater than yourself just by turning on your computer. So there is this sense of not only each individual becoming more authentically who they are, optimally, but there's also this sense of community breaking away from the pro forma because it's not working anymore.
Is it kind of like the would you say the Occupy movement, which that would be is there a area of life that we may need to kind of, for lack of a better word, stage our own Occupy movement or our own Arab Spring?
Wherever you feel trapped, wherever you feel stuck, wherever you feel bored, there's got to be something fresh and new and innovative. That's the nature of Uranus, and then you bring in the sign of Aries, which is the first sign of the horoscope, and it's like, okay, let's just go. Let's meet the challenge. Let's do something that's never been done before. And it's like scary as hell in some respects, but it's also about, if you don't try, then there's going to be this kind of internal combustion that can turn really ugly and really destructive.
Yeah, I think in the U.S. charts, moving through the fourth, which is the people, and you kind of seeing that play out. There's some of the more functional or healthy versions like Occupy, and then you're seeing these other much more dysfunctional examples that have been, in the news of like the phraseology you just used of was pretty good description of some of the craziness that's going on. So we're going to take a break, and I have some station business to attend to, and we'll put you on hold and be back on in about 4 minutes, and maybe we can go over the south transiting south node is in Gemini, transiting north node is in Sag for maybe one more day, and then that's an 18-month transit, and then it's going to be going into Taurus and Scorpio. So maybe we can talk about that.
Absolutely.
Because of course that's also going to affect the two most. What are the two things people have the most radioactivity about? Well, money and sex, and Taurus is money and Scorpio is sex. So, All right. So let's see here. Put you on hold, and we'll be back in a moment. Cal's Community Radio wishes to thank the Inn at Occidental for their support. The Inn at Occidental has luxury accommodations with views of Occidental from its hillside perch. For more information, call toll-free 1-800-522-6324. Locally, call 707-874-1047. The website is www.inatoccidental.com. Cal's Community Radio has a new fundraising effort called Give Place. Give Place is an online marketplace where you can sell, donate, or buy items. Everything sold on Give Place gives 10 to 100% of its proceeds to your favorite local nonprofit organization. You can support Cal's Radio by buying and selling on Give Place. Go to www.giveplace.com. Give Place is the Craigslist for local nonprofits. Thank you for buying and selling on giveplace.com. All right, folks, your host here is going to get himself a drink of water, and we'll be back with Joyce Van Horn.